So I caught this video. Uh, it's about Julius Peppers and his comments on Aaron Rodgers' leadership, I guess. I watched maybe the first 10 seconds of the video, and from what I could take from the first few seconds of it, former tight end of the Green Bay Packers and former wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers, Jermichael Finley and Jeff Janis, both came out and expressed that Aaron Rodgers wasn't the greatest guy. He wasn't the greatest teammate. He wasn't the greatest team player. And I chalk a lot of that up to just the ego that clearly Aaron Rodgers has. He is almost the polar opposite of Tom Brady in almost every way. I mean, he's far more talented. I mean, his skills are a lot more noticeable on the field. Like, a lot of people have a hard time deciphering what makes Tom Brady great because he doesn't do anything better than anybody else. The only thing that he does is in clutch time, he's able to make the right decisions at the right time. But Aaron Rodgers' skills are a little more noticeable. They jump out at you. But his ego is the biggest downfall. Honestly, I think it's the biggest downfall of his career. And I told a friend a few months ago, I told a friend like the middle of the season when Green Bay gave Aaron Rodgers the contract extension, and right after that, I think like a week or two after that, they fired Mike McCarthy. I knew that's all Aaron Rodgers was waiting for, was that contract extension. Because at that point, before that, somebody had to go. It was either him or Mike McCarthy. Somebody had to go. You know, and anybody with common sense would believe Aaron Rodgers would stay and they would get rid of Mike McCarthy because, you know, Aaron Rodgers, he's the big name guy. He's the godsend that they had when they had Brett Favre and they were able to draft him, I believe 22nd or something like that in the draft. And they believed that they struck gold, which they did, man. I mean, to go from Brett Favre, honestly, who has an argument to be probably the greatest quarterback of all time, and to go to Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the most talented passers the NFL has probably ever seen. But recently, I guess, Julius Peppers, former Carolina Panther, turned Green Bay Packer, then turned back to Carolina Panther, he came out and said that Aaron Rodgers was a great teammate. Now, the only reason why Julius Peppers is saying that is because Julius Peppers has never played with a quarterback close to a level of an Aaron Rodgers. And he's on the defensive side of the ball. You're not a receiver. So you probably don't spend that much time with him on the field. Where usually a lot of these personality traits is brought out with these athletes is when you're in close quarters on the field. You're a defensive player. You're probably on the other side of the field with the other players, not down there with Aaron. So I'm pretty sure Jermichael Finley and Jeff Janis. And Jeff Janis, well, you know, no, I'm going to go Jermichael Finley. Jermichael Finley has a lot of credibility because, I mean, of course, he had his best years with Aaron Rodgers. And he played at the top of his game, and I believe he helped them win that championship in 2009. So it's not like this is coming out of jealousy or you know, what do you call it? Bitterness. It's not like it's coming from a bitter place. Because his best years, and you usually see that with these athletes, man. Like wide receivers, whoever they had their best years with is usually who they like the most. Like, this is why you won't hear Greg Jennings talk shit about Aaron Rodgers. This is why you probably won't hear Julian Edelman ever say anything bad about Tom Brady. Gronk say anything bad about Tom Brady. Not Not to say there's something bad to say about any of them. It's just the loyalty among athletes is strong. As strong as it possibly can be in sports. Because loyalty really... the only loyalty a player should have is to themselves, first of all. And then maybe your family and your friends, whoever you consider close. But loyalty in sports, if you have it, it's usually very strong. That's why a lot of these athletes turn prognosticators. They're usually pretty biased. Because they can't take off the goggles and be able to be objective. So, I'm going to let the clip play.
Teammate. So, Greg, you won a Super Bowl with Aaron. You shared a locker room with him for several years. Do you think that he catches too much heat for his leadership skills?
And you ripped him. I did. Absolutely. No, I don't. And I'm not so... we can throw out the Jermichael quote. We can throw out even the Julius Peppers, because what I want people to understand is when you're in a locker room, you're all a team. You see each other face to face, everybody. But once you go into the meeting rooms, now you break up. Now it's offense, defense. Now, once we watch that film, I'm not critical of you, or you're not critical of me. So Julius Peppers is kind of out of that equation right now. And so he's never had to really sit in a meeting room with Aaron Rodgers and be either the reason why or why not something didn't happen. But Jeff Janis, when I listen to a guy who just was in the locker room with you recently, and he's saying things like, he's too negative. And some may say, oh yeah, Jeff Janis, you got to toughen up, you got to get some thicker skin. Yeah, no, when somebody's saying you're being too negative, that means you're not being positive at all. Like, what good are you getting out of me if you're not going to even... You're the guy. We need you to be the guy. But you are talking down on me, and I'm all you have right now.
Now, over the past week, I find myself agreeing with Greg Jennings a lot more than in recent memory. But I agree, man. Look, Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys who's super talented coming out of college. In college, he was very talented. A lot of people didn't understand why he wasn't a higher pick. And I believe on draft day, I believe they were surprised that he was drafted as low as he was drafted in the first round. So, I mean, he was a very talented player in college. He became Brett Favre's backup. Even if Brett Favre didn't teach him anything, I'm pretty sure that just by watching him, Aaron Rodgers learned something. And then when he was ready to step in to take over, he took over. I believe what changed Aaron Rodgers, and I could be wrong because I'm not in the locker room. But it's like the thing I keep saying. When these young players have extreme success, and I believe the second year Aaron Rodgers started as starting quarterback, he won the Super Bowl, I believe. I believe he started in the beginning of 07 or something. I believe the beginning of 07 or something like that. He started. Once Brett Favre left and went to Minnesota, he started. And I believe his second, maybe third, is around that time period, he won the Super Bowl. And when these young guys have extreme amounts of success, it does something to them. That ego starts to build up. It's like the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers from last season. When Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid took the Sixers on that huge run, that huge tear that they were on, everybody was calling these guys superstars already. That's all I kept hearing. Philly has 2 superstars now. Okay. Boston destroyed them. They exploited the fact that Ben Simmons couldn't shoot. And Joel Embiid had a really hard time dealing with the big men of the Boston Celtics. Now, on the flip side of that, Boston this year looks bad. And I believe it's because of the same thing, ego. You got young guys on this team that are super talented, but they can't get out of their own way enough to let the fucking actual veterans on the team lead the team. It's like a kid telling you when they want to eat, when they want to go to sleep, when they want to watch TV. If not, like going to school, they decide whether or not they want to do that shit. That's what it's like. I mean, and Aaron Rodgers is a victim of this too, man. Look, ego affects everybody at some point, man. I've never met one person, not even for a second, that didn't have an ego about something. So, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he has a pretty big fucking inflated ego. And Greg Jennings is one of the guys that are responsible for this. Stephen A. Smith is another guy that's responsible for this. Who else? Somebody else. It could be Max Kellerman, but I'm not sure. I know Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp. Like, he's the reason why. I mean, they're the reason why this guy thinks so highly of himself. Aaron Rodgers is a very talented player. But when we talk about greatest quarterbacks of all time, people just leave out accomplishments. Like it don't matter. Oh, it's a team sport. So then Michael Jordan numbers don't matter. LeBron James numbers don't matter. Fucking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This dude lost one game in college. I believe he played all 4 years, lost one game. Came into the pros, took the Milwaukee Bucks to the NBA Finals, went to the Los Angeles Lakers, won 5 with them. I believe he was like a 4-time MVP. Could be off on the number. It's probably one more or one less. So all that shit, all that shit shouldn't count. MVP shouldn't count. Because in order to win the MVP, like especially at the quarterback position, you need other players. So, I don't know, man. Look. Aaron Rodgers, he's a very talented guy, but when we talk about the greatest quarterback of all time, I don't think dude makes the cut, man. I'm sorry. I don't think he makes the cut. And his ego, I don't know, it wears on people, man. It wears on people. You're going to probably hear a lot more people come out as his career winds on, as players leave, as soon as he retires. You're going to hear a lot of people say a whole lot of things. And I honestly believe he got Mike McCarthy pushed out intentionally by playing bad intentionally. Like Jermichael Finley said, like Aaron Rodgers would just ignore some of the play calls. I believe that he played bad intentionally this year, cost them a playoff run because he wanted Mike McCarthy out the door. So.
And I don't like when I hear people say it. I said it when I was walking out of the door of Green Bay Packers. I said that his leadership skills weren't what everybody thought they were, and I got a huge flag behind it. But now we're seeing guys say this same thing.
Vindicated now?
No, I didn't have to be.
I'm asking.
I didn't have to be. What I said was what I felt and what I believed to be true. And what these guys are saying is what they feel and what they believe to be true. So hearing Julius Peppers call Aaron Rodgers one of the all-time great teammates, absolutely. I can see why.
He's talking about quarterbacks that he's played with. And the only reason why he's saying that is because Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback he's ever played with. I mean, who was his previous quarterbacks? Jake Delhomme at one point. I believe Rodney Peete at one point. Derek Anderson, I believe. Cam Newton. And everybody knows Cam Newton isn't a fucking leader or a great team player. Cam Newton is emotionally unstable, man. So, everybody knows that Cam Newton isn't the guy. But, I don't know. And he's only saying it because Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback he's ever played with. And he liked playing with him. And they probably hang out after practice or after games, go out, get a fucking drink or something like that. And also, real quick before I start the video, and this has nothing to do with the topic, by the way, but with a lot of these celebrities, a lot of these athletes, man, this always pops into my mind because how much of what somebody says about you is because of how they feel about you and not necessarily actual truth. It's more of admiration for another reason. And the reason why I say that is because, and this is just me spouting off it, I have no facts to validate any of it, but I know there's a lot of gay players in the NFL, probably just not coming out the closet. Like a couple years ago, there was a whole lot of people coming out saying that Odell was gay and all this other stuff. Whether he is, whether he's not, doesn't matter. But Aaron, Olivia Munn, for some reason, comes off very mannish, almost like Butch-like. And he dated her for years. So it had me starting to think about Aaron and like possibly. But, and I'm not saying that Julius and him are, but I'm just saying a lot of I don't know, I think about how much of this admiration stuff actually comes from a different place than actual just professional admiration. So, I don't know. It's just a thought, and sometimes I think about this shit whenever I watch these segments on these athletes who glorify certain athletes.
Say that. Again, he's not in that meeting room. He's not getting the full dosage of Aaron Rodgers.
Isn't it also just what he experienced when he was around?
Of course.
So that's all he can base it off of.
It's all he can base it off of.
And don't you also got to realize that you, because of the position you play and that you need Aaron Rodgers to get you the football, you can look at him in a different way because he affects your paycheck, he affects your play, he affects whether or not, you know what I mean? Things happen for you. So you're going to look at him differently than somebody else. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Right. And I just think that there's so much nitpicking at Aaron Rodgers. He's a great player. He's not perfect. Is he the best personality? I'm not in the locker room with him, but I'm just saying, it's easy for guys
Have
now.
you covered Aaron Rodgers?
I've been around him a little bit. I've never covered him like as a beat reporter, but I've talked to him a number of times after games in Detroit, just as conversation. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. I'm not saying like I have some sort of text friendship with him or anything like that. So I've been around him a little bit, and he comes across the way that I've always seen him when I watch him on television.
Commercials.
No, I'm just saying.
Right.
No, but I mean, like, when I watch his demeanor, like, in a game, or that's how he comes across to me. All I'm saying is, it's easier, these things are easier to say. Now, when you said it, was a little different because he wasn't hurt or on a downside or struggling. Now, when a player gets hurt, it's easier to take shots at people and say they're not all that they're cracked up to be because he's not looked at in the same light because they didn't make the playoffs. He's struggled recently. He's been hurt a couple times. So I'm saying, when I look at that, if those things were said to me about Aaron Rodgers when he was winning an MVP and they were going to the playoffs and winning the division every year, I'd have more respect for him rather than when a guy's hurt and when a guy's not playing his best. I think it's easy to win.
Again, Rob Parker makes a statement that absolutely makes zero fucking sense. Information is information. When you get the information and how you got the information, honestly, it shouldn't matter as long as the information is valid. That's the only criteria for saying something about somebody. Is it true? Now, if he would have came out and said, I don't believe it's true, I only believe they're saying this because, he's not, they don't play for him anymore, and he's an easy target because they're not winning. if it's not true. Like, if it's true, it shouldn't matter if he's winning or not. And of course they're going to take shots at him because they're not playing on the team anymore. And I was going to make an argument about Jeff Janis. Then I was like, what the hell am I doing? I got the two people mixed up. Jermichael Finley was who I meant in the beginning. And that's what I fixed and said. But Jermichael Finley, man, he has a valid argument right there. Because when Jermichael Finley played before all his injuries, Jermichael Finley was one of the top NFC tight ends. I can't really think of too many tight ends that were better than him during that span, especially around the Super Bowl time. He was the best tight end and one of the best tight ends in the NFC. A guy playing at the top of his career with a quarterback who was primarily looking for. If it wasn't Jordy Nelson, it was Jermichael Finley. It's not like he was deprived of targets. It wasn't like he wasn't getting them the ball enough in certain spots in the game. It wasn't like that was going on. Like, Jermichael Finley was probably his his best target. And I'm only saying that because, Jordy Nelson had a lot of injuries. But Jermichael Finley was probably his best target. Why would he come out and talk shit about this guy unless it was true? And it's easy to fucking look at some guy with this glimmer of fucking just this air of, superiority because of how great they are, how talented they are, how exalted they are. It's easy to look at them like they're some fucking next level being until you actually have to be in close quarters with them. That's why they say never meet your heroes. Because these people look like fucking superheroes and these people look like fucking gods. And it's only because you don't know them. These people are human. Aaron Rodgers is human. A lot of times it sounds like these fucking it sounds like these commentators, they talk about Aaron Rodgers like he's some fucking deity or some shit like that. And he's human. With an ego. He has an ego. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you admit it. And as long as you don't force it on everybody that's subjected to you. Like his teammates. Coaches. Mike McCarthy was the victim of that. There's no telling how many more people were victim to his ego. Because when you have a quarterback that great and ownership does not want to give them up, they have all the power. And then you're just at their will. You're at their mercy. They can bend you to their will. So.
To make those comments.
Well, first of all, look at the comment that Julius made. You made me think a Hail Mary pass was a 50-50 ball.
Or a chance you could win. Watching you was good. Like, he talked about his ability on the field. And anybody that's criticized Aaron Rodgers from you on down, nobody criticized his ability. Like that, Julius Peppers didn't say he was great in the locker room. He was a great galvanizer. He was a great leader. But the context of that quote, it looked more to me. It was pretty much all on you. You were a great player. You led us. And being on your team was fantastic.
If that was the case, Julius Peppers would have said, all-time great player. And I get what you're trying to do, Chris Broussard, and I admire it, but it's not going to work, bro. He said all-time great teammate. And anybody that uses the word teammate, they use it with the context of how your interactions with the people that are on your team. There's a difference between all-time great player and all-time great teammate. Now, you could make argument, maybe Julius Peppers misspoke. Maybe he said the wrong word. Maybe he meant this. You're saying it like you knew exactly what he was talking about. And if you did, you would have said that instead of saying what you're saying. He said all-time great teammate, as in, when I go into the locker room, when I go into the field, when we practice in game, me and this guy, we were very close, and he was awesome. That's what the fuck that means. It's not, oh man, he threw a couple Hail Mary passes that were fucking touchdowns, and for some reason I think that makes him the greatest person ever. No, he said teammate, which means both on the field, in the locker room, and off the field. So.
Fantastic, because we always had a chance to win. I don't think Aaron Rodgers gets enough criticism for this. I don't think he gets much criticism at all. You know, most people, he's always in the commercials. We know that. One of only a handful of NFL players that is like that.
On discount double check.
And he is regarded, most people, a lot of people look at him and say he's the best thrower of the football.
No doubt
He's the
about it.
best quarterback at the position that they've ever seen. Even though he's only won one Super Bowl since 2000.
That doesn't have anything to do with whether you can win a Super Bowl or whether you can throw the football.
No, but my point is, there's no criticism. And even people now saying...
There go Rob Parker again, making another obvious statement that didn't need to be said.
He has something to do with Mike McCarthy getting fired. That's not really a negative mark against you. Magic Johnson got a coach fired. Everybody thinks LeBron gets coaches fired. Jason Kidd got coaches fired. Like, he doesn't get criticized, is my point.
LeBron, Dwight Howard both got coaches fired. Obviously, he got David Blatt fired. David Blatt was on that team for 1 year. And in that 1 year, they went to the NBA Finals, which they should have won. But because Kevin Love got hurt in the prior series, the Boston Celtics series, where he got his arm yanked, and because Kyrie went down with that knee injury, that's why they were shorthanded during that entire series. He got David Blatt fired. Honestly, I believe he also got Mike Brown fired earlier on in LeBron's career, which I don't really see a problem with, man, because Mike Brown, man, he wasn't really... I mean, he coached, and I'm throwing up the quotations. He coached them to multiple, I believe, 60-win seasons. Got them to the NBA Finals, and they lost handily. Honestly, I can't even throw all the blame on Mike Brown. I would say that the front office failed that team with the sorriest cast of characters I've ever seen put around a fucking superstar, and he was forced to get them to the NBA Finals. Dwight Howard got Stan Van Gundy fired. I don't know if he had the cachet with other teams to get coaches fired, but I know in Orlando he got Stan Van Gundy fired. I believe it was Stan Van Gundy. Yeah, I believe it was Stan Van Gundy. But yeah, man.
And to your point, Greg, what's the difference? Like, he's a great player, but Tom Brady has the intangibles. That's one of the big differences. Rodgers is better physically, but Brady's better as a leader.
Rodgers was catching some heat though last season, not getting a road win. So I kind of.
I don't think much. A little criticism. That's not much.
Our next question might make Rob Parker's head fall off. Does Tom Brady deserve a statue at Michigan?
What?
Harbaugh thinks so. We'll discuss that next. Please stay with us. Don't leave. Don't walk out.
But that was it. This video ran a little longer than I wanted it to. Again, man, Aaron Rodgers has a lot of ego. Anybody that pays attention to sports should know this. Aaron Rodgers has a lot of ego. And, but it's sports, man. That's what makes great players great, man. And this is why I think Tom Brady's full of shit. I believe he believes he's the greatest player of all time. And I believe he likes when people call him the greatest player of all time. He doesn't want to hear it when it's time for him to go to work, which is understandable. But don't lie about it. There's nothing wrong with having an ego. There's nothing wrong with thinking you're great. But, don't try to fool other people into thinking otherwise.